eating a late dinner, that's not good. So I've gotten a little better. I don't do that very often.
You have a fridge and you're not.
I do. I do. Get people on. I see people coming on Zoom. That's awesome. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to say is homework. We had some homework. And we'll go over that here in just a minute. Where do I have? Okay, I've got it there. Well, I'm getting everybody on Zoom and then sharing screen, and then I'll share screen up here in just a minute. Matter of fact, let me do that now so we can have that. Okay, I won't take that personally, Jeff. Jeff just moved back. You don't have to. I'm just kidding. It's like, oh, did I say something? Oh, I like to give trouble. Okay. Oh yeah, we're good. We're good. Okay, you know the routine. So it's gonna. I've got to share screen for a second, and then it'll come back up. Because I want the Zoomers to have the same opportunity to check into class. Okay. Okay, those on Zoom, can you hear me okay? Sound all right?
Yeah, hey, Kristen, morning. I can hear you.
Good morning. I can hear you loud and clear, Connor. Always good to hear your voice. I'm excited about this. This is, I love this material. And while everybody is checking in, I want you getting out your homework. Because our homework was, how many contacts do you need? And that was on page 10 of the materials. You calculating how many deals you want to close times 6. And then what is that number? And then what did I tell you to do with that number? Double it. Double it. Because that's not going to be big enough. And remember, that number really is for, if we just go times 6 and don't double it, that's for an experienced agent that has an established database that they've been working. Does that make sense? That's kind of a maintenance number. You need the startup number. And your startup number for your database needs to be bigger because you haven't built your database out yet. So we got to get that done. That's got to be a priority that you do. Because if you want to have longevity in this business, and I believe all of you do, then you've got to grow and maintain a healthy, thriving database. It's not a one and done. Oh, I got all my names in there, and then you don't do anything with it. That means nothing. So you want to be continuously growing that. And think of it as having 2 different buckets. This week, we're talking about METs. And everybody knows, is anybody not familiar with what METs means? Do we need, because I'm okay if you're not sure. Jake, are you comfortable what METs mean?
I think so.
Okay, so everybody that you know somehow, basically who's in here? Who's in here? In the MREA, then we talk about haven't mets, and those are the people you're just meeting. You're meeting them through an open house or door knocking or a sign call. It's those people you hope to get in relationship with and that you need to cultivate usually. Sometimes, though, you can meet them and they become instant clients. Happened to me. I'll never forget. I was at an open house in Brookside. Cute little tutor. This couple came in, cute young couple. Walked around. We talked just a little bit. They came back like 15 minutes later and said, "We want you to help us buy a house." I'm like, wow, that's all it took. Whoa, okay. And what also was interesting is they weren't really looking in this area. They wanted to buy in Blue Springs. Her mom lived in the neighborhood and they just saw the sign and stopped in. So you never know. You never know. I want you to always think when you're in an open house, it is a job interview all the time. Even when the neighbors come in, please don't get lulled into the limited mindset that they're nosy neighbors. Yeah, some of them are. They're not gonna come in and announce to you, I'm selling my house. They're gonna be checking you out. They're gonna check their neighbor's house out and how's mine compare? Could I get this for my house? Oh, look what they did. Maybe I should do something like that to my house, right? They're not gonna tell you all of that most likely. So every time somebody's coming in, it's a job interview. Don't think that, no. Okay, scanned. Doot, doot, doot. Homework. Okay, how many contacts do you need? All right, you guys, we talked about it a little bit on Tuesday, but I hope you revisited and fine-tuned that and share with me what was that number. So it was on page 10 of the material. And that's where you took how many deals you want to close times 6 equals what your database should be, and then times 2 according to Kristen. Okay, so what's that number? Jocelyn, what's your number? 300. Awesome. You get to 300, that's the start of a good, healthy database. Especially if you're communicating to that on a regular basis. How about Zoomers? Share with me some of your numbers. Connor, what was your number?
Yeah, I had 48 contacts, and I was just going off the number that I set at the beginning of this year of sales. I think was 4, so it was kind of low. But 48 or 4 times 6, 24, and then double is.
Okay. Well, Connor, you work a full-time job, so that number is appropriate for what your goal is. Okay, I don't want anybody to ever feel bad that their goal is big or small or in between, because this is your business and you get to decide. We don't ever tell, I don't say, Laura, this is how many houses you need to sell. I can say, in order to get to your goal, how much money you've shared that you want to make, I can then tell you how much you need to sell, but that's going to be your decision.
So I wasn't here on Tuesday, so.
How many transactions do you want to close? Times 6. And then that number times 2. Who else? David, what's your number? 432. Awesome. Awesome. Okay, Jeff, what's your number?
Well, so I did it this way. When I was going through the class, one of the real estate lady that was teaching it said she can handle about 8 to 10 clients a month. And so I kind of based it off of that. And then so then assuming that you closed those, I just figured 10. So if I were to work with 10, then that would be 120 contacts. Well, I'm at 260, so I'm good with that. If I did my 260, what those numbers look like. I mean, that would be that jam. But I just did it based off of doing 10 closes.
10 closes. Okay. Yeah. So, and did she mean that that's how many she does at a time, or how many clients she handles at a time?
She said,
So that's that's over a year or
no, that's
a month? Okay,
I did it on-
okay. So close 10 a month?
Yeah, so if I'm working with 8 to 10 people a month.
Then you need a bigger database.
Well, no. Well, if you do, so you're saying for the year,
Yeah,
because
Yeah.
it was only 120, but I already.
yeah, do it for the year. Well,
So
no,
then carry that out times 12. So,
you need a much bigger database. Yeah, you do. So, but this is good. This is good. It gets you thinking about what do I need to be working on to grow it to that level? Because you can grow this as big as you want, and then if you know how big that database needs to be, then we can show you the activities. That's what this course is all about, to show you the activities to do to grow that database. But we first have to understand how important the database is so that we know everybody has to go in there.
Well, that would be over 1,400.
Okay, well, if you've read the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book, what's the magic number that it says in there? For a millionaire, how many people in the database? Like 1950.
How much?
1950, 1,950.
Yeah, I was saying I had 700.
Okay, so again, when you guys are telling me how many you have in your database, okay, so I'm kind of the spoiler. So I'm gonna be the spoiler right now. None of those count unless you have complete information. You need to have a phone number, an email, and a home address.
Question.
Yes.
Do you keep home addresses if they're just renting?
Yes, because I never know if I want to mail to them an invite or something like that. A good question. So you have over 700, but how many of those do you have all three pieces of information? So that's the work that you need to put in, or any of you, is getting so that you have all three pieces of information. Because until you do, guys, you are not going to get that return. You won't, because you're not going to be able to communicate with them in any fashion. You want to be able to say, I want to send to all of my buyer leads or my open house leads. I want to be able to text them this. I want to be able to email them this. I want to be able to mail them this. And you shouldn't have to go, oh, I got to go collect all of that. Does that make sense? So as you're figuring out the number, that's where the next thing is, okay, get them into command, great. But then your duty, your goal is you're going to get that additional information. That's what you need to do, and that comes from conversations and connecting with people. So to me, you can only count in your database. David's like, oh God. She's not making it easy. You can only truly count your database as the people that you have three pieces of information. And rarely do any of us have all three pieces, right? So like I said, I'm the spoiler. But if I'm not real with you, you're going to be under the illusion that your database is going to get you the return that we talk about. And it's not going to deliver because you haven't fully built it out to its full capacity so that it can have that return. It only works if you can utilize it at a high level. Make sense?
Where's that balance? Sitting on a computer general way, or, sitting there texting, asking, you have to ask it something. But where's that balance of doing now and then being in front of someone too?
Here's what, oh, I love that question. So David asked, where's the balance of just, doing the texting and emailing and that type of thing and being in front of people? So here's where you might have heard me said before, but we have to treat different people in our database differently. Remember when on Tuesday we talked about core advocates? Remember those? They were, we had the categories. Let's just refresh because not every, you had advocates and you had core advocates. So it's the only time I will tell you to discriminate between people, Because we can't be everything to everyone in our database, especially as we grow it big. And remember, when I say 1950 for a millionaire, not all of you want to be a millionaire agent. It's A-okay. You can make a really good living and not be at that level, okay? You can make a nice six-figure income and not have that, okay? So, but that's where you're going to have, you should ideally be tagging people in your database that are your A pluses. Your A pluses are your advocates or your core advocates. They're the people that are your biggest cheerleaders and supporters of you and your business. And they get your time and attention at a very high level. Then you have A's, the people who have done business with you or have referred. B's are people who have given you all indication they work with you. They just haven't had a need and they haven't referred anybody yet, but you see the potential in them.
Sorry, so this is kind of crazy. I'm at my contacts right now. How do you ask somebody, you know, when is your birthday? Or your anniversary?
Okay, so you don't have to have all that information, but here's what I did. I love to send cards.
Yeah.
You know, I realize I don't have your birthday. And I want to be able to send out birthday cards. Or I like sending out holiday cards because that's my thing. I don't have your home address. So you've got to find the ways to connect to them and ask those questions to fill out the missing information. Don't just go, I know some of you will say, well, I can find most of that information online. Yeah, but that doesn't, you didn't connect with them. And the power and what makes the difference is the connecting. So to David's point is you need to decide, and then the C's, the people in the C's are, you really don't know them really well. You don't know if they would use you or refer you, but you want to build those relationships to see if they would. And so they don't get as much of a touch of your personal touch as an A, especially the A's.
It's nice if they give you the, you know, they give you their birthday.
Well, yeah, you want to gather that. It may not be though you asking them all those questions at one time. Quizzing them. What's your birthday? What's your anniversary? What's your pet's name? What's your name? No, I mean, that's something that you're asking as you converse with them, right? Because remember, this database, you're never done with it. Like it or not, the reality is this. It is a business asset. It's your most important business asset. So you have to continuously be in there, growing it and nurturing it and taking care of it. And connecting with those people. Like for me, I even, so my C's for me in my database were like open house leads. Somebody I met once, we connected, but it didn't go any further than that. So I communicated with them differently. That's why we talk about the different touch plans, and we'll get into it some more here. I put them on a 12 direct. That meant they got an email from me once a month. That's it.
Did your email consist of, like, would you do a newsletter for them?
Yeah, just, it was whatever would keep me in front of them.
And you could just automate that in command. Okay, so then you wouldn't do your like quarterly calls or texts with them?
I could have, well, because I didn't have this training,
Yeah,
I didn't know that if I did that, that I would have had a higher return out of that group. So the personal touch will get you stickier with them, but I just put them on the 12 direct, and that's all I did with that group of leads, that I got their contact information. I could put them on something automated that cost me so little time and absolutely no money. I had nothing to lose. They can unsubscribe. That's okay. Very few did. Very few did. And then I just left them. I left them. If I'd done the next level, but I grew my database to I probably had, well, with farming and everything, I had over 1,000. I was there for a while. I was mailing out 1,000 newsletters a month. Yeah. Well, I didn't have social media to connect with people and know what was going on. So think about it. So any other numbers, Zoomers, anybody else? What is your contact? How many contacts do you need? Anybody else?
Total, mine was around just like Connor's, but I did it for pretty much planning that I want these 4 transactions before the end of the year. And so timesing everyone by 2, it was 576.
Okay.
So I'm halfway there.
Okay. So you gotta get busy.
I know. Luckily,
Yeah.
football season starting and tailgate parties are my favorite. So
Okay, tailgate parties is favorite. I love it. He's already seeing where he has opportunities to connect with
Yeah.
people. I love that. Okay, your other piece of homework was customizing an 8x8. Did anybody do that? And you had an example in there. It was on page 27. And you could have chosen a buyer one, you could have chosen, I actually have one that well, I've got one, an open house one in the library. So if you go into Command Library, not your personal library, but the general library, and go put in KWNKC and scroll down the smart plans, there are not that many there, you'll see my open house one. So, and you can go in there and edit it. You claim it and put it into your library and then fiddle with it if you want, or use it as it is. So there's an 8x8 there if you didn't have time to create your own. But somebody share with me what their 8x8 looked like. And what did you focus on? Was it buyers? Was it FSBOs? Was it farming? Was it just to your contacts? What did you concentrate your 8x8 on? It's-
Anybody was just the few people that I know that I'm meeting and.
Okay.
Started with, dropping off, like talking with them, spending some time with them, but then dropping off, like something that was customized for them, just in our conversation. May not even be my business color. And then a community spotlight. The next piece was like a discount to the community, so go talk to different businesses and get coupons.
Love it.
Community coupon, like that, follow with a phone call. I just use that one. And then offer a free valuation.
Home evaluation. Perfect.
And then. Yeah.
Yeah, with an 8x8 or a 36 touch, some of it's gonna be automated and some of it's gonna be personal touches. So in creating those, I'll have some more in the library. I've got at least 4 more that I'm working on so that you can have a base, because going in, I know that you can go into Command. You can go in the library and look at 8x8s and there are a zillion of them, a zillion. So I'm gonna create so that you'll have some to choose from that will be pretty easy to use and to implement. But it's really, so do you get the reason for the 8x8? Because I think it's really important to understand that the reason we talk about the 8x8 is because it's after the initial touch. Or the initial contact. Remember what we learned on Tuesday? After meeting somebody, within how many days will they forget you?
16.
16 days. You are history. You're toast. You are evaporated from their brain unless you do follow-up. And so the idea of the 8x8 is to get some traction. It is also to try to weed out and see if somebody is a now client. Because you're like right there, you're right there. And I love, did you hear what David was offering? He was offering things of value. information or what have you. The discount, I love that. I did that in my monthly newsletter, would partner with a small business. They would agree to give a discount to anyone who mentioned my name. And so I promoted them and that I was building their business and helping them. So it was a nice win-win for both of us, right? So I love that you're gonna do that. Does that make sense? So remember, all of these campaigns have a reason behind them. And it's also the same for you all that are brand new. You should put your people on an 8x8. That's why my announcement strategy is designed as it is so that you're getting out there and you're touching them a lot in the beginning to let them know. And that's why I will soon have loaded in the library an 8x8 announcement smart plan for you to use. That says, it explains the different things how you can help people. It thanks them for their help. Just short little emails to send out. Those could be text messages too, however you want to use that. But that is kind of like to get the mindset moving. Because remember, you're here and real estate is here in the minds of everyone else. Laura, most of your database thinks of you as a teacher. And you are working hard to get that so they think of you and real estate as one thing. But most people don't yet. And it's up to you to make that happen. Don't depend on them because they're going to forget you in 16 days. Even your good friends, they're not going to forget you, but they'll forget you're a real estate agent. One of the most impactful conversations I had with a new agent, she said, Kristen, I'm going to tell you what happened. Last week, one of my good friends reached out to me and asked me if I knew a real estate agent. One of her good friends, she goes, I told her, then she stopped and she said, oh, it's like you said. If you don't teach them to think of you as a real estate agent, they won't remember.
So I heard that like, if you ask somebody for a tissue, they automatically think of Kleenex.
Yeah, our brains are conditioned, so people will associate you with how they have known you or how they met you. And now you've got to retrain their brain that it's you in real estate. So it literally is brainwashing to get mind share. It is, let's be real. What is advertising and marketing? It's brainwashing. It's nothing more than that. We just have different names so it doesn't sound as manipulative. And it's not manipulative. It is, that's what we need to do to get people to think of us in real estate. So customizing that 8x8, you're going to have 8x8s for different things. But it is the way to trigger and try to, think of it this way. It is a way to try to speed up the relationship. So normally a lead would go on an 8x8 and then if they didn't respond to me, then I'd put them on the 12 direct. Make sense? You all should be doing an 8x8 to tell people about your business, new business, and then put them on a 36 touch because you know them. Any questions about that? It's
Kristen?
what? Say it loud.
Training your brain.
Training your brain.
Section that teaches us about focus. And when you create these 8x8, when you create these 36 touches, you're becoming laser like focus, and that's what's going to grow with it. It's going because you stay on their radar.
Yep.
You stay on their radar.
What Angel was sharing is by doing that, you keep the focus on you in real estate, and that's what helps build the business. Ryan, I think you had a question or a comment.
I had a quick question.
Yes, ma'am. Hi.
Hi, excuse me. I've been doing a letter writing to the FSBOs, handwritten and typed letters introducing. I have a bunch I need to now put into the database. But however, how do I handle phones since a lot of them are do not call?
You cannot call.
So I mean,
So,
but do I
I'll-
enter that? So do I don't enter that information in a database, correct?
No, you can't, because you might forget they're on the do not call if you put that number in there. Do
Okay.
not.
Yeah, I
do
just
not.
wanted, I thought I had
Yeah.
been avoiding to do that, so I just wanted to make
Good
sure.
question. Good question. Now, when you're doing FSBOs and expireds, we're gonna have a whole session here in this class, in this course, on for sale by owners and expireds and canceled. And it is, I love that you're doing the letters work. One, I had one new agent. She wrote letters to expireds. That was where she was focusing, and she got her first 3 listings came from that. Not calling, from mailing. So it can work, but you have to have a system. You have to be consistent and persistent, or it does not work. Does not work. You can't just send one letter and think it's gonna have a return. So that's where making sure you have a system, because then you've got to say, well, I'm gonna save it because I'm gonna teach that one, FSBOs and expires. I'm gonna save it. I'm not gonna share it yet. Well, let's go to page 30 and talk about the 33 touch, 36 in our world now, and the 7 set strategies for success. Okay. So you got a plan. If you don't have a plan, this doesn't work. I see a lot of people, it started in real estate and they just run out the door. They just run out the door. They don't have a plan. That's why you're thinking, why are they making me do the number of how big my database needs to be? Because if you don't know, then you don't know what activities you need to do and how much of it you need to do. And if you don't know that, then you're gonna be like me in my first year, and I just ran hard, and I just hoped every day I did enough. I hope I talked to enough people. I hope I did enough open houses this month. I didn't know. I couldn't quantify anything. I didn't know how to quantify anything. I was just literally running in the dark. And how I made it through my first year, I really don't know. Well, because I didn't give up. I just kept going, and then I started to see what was getting me success. But I want you to have a plan, because how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. And I think for Serenity especially, that's one of the things that gets to her, is she's looking at the whole thing and thinking, oh my gosh, how am I gonna get this done or get this started or what have you? And we just need to go, just take one step at a time. Yes, ma'am.
I do have an accountability for her. I won't share that is because I love her. I don't want to steal her, but it's been really nice. We've set boundaries with each other, like if this doesn't work, and so we're just like really encouraging. That's helped me in my business, and I think I will.
That's awesome. Yeah. If you have other people looking or that know what your goals are and what you're wanting to accomplish. Now, I will tell you the reason it's working is because you both are understand that it's really up to you.
Yeah.
But what is it called? Shadow work? Has anybody heard the term shadow work? It's a thing now. I see it on TikTok and what have you. Shadow work. It's where a lot of people are more productive if someone is just working beside them, even if they're not talking or what have you. Actually, Portia, who works with me in recruiting, she will have someone on the phone and they'll be shadow working. Her best friend's a real estate agent in California. And sometimes they're shadow working together. Because just knowing that there's somebody there doesn't feel as lonely and feels a little bit more motivating. So remember, accountability is all up to you, but it really does help to have others to support you, cheer you on, and sometimes call you out. Now, if you choose to do accountability with someone, I'll tell you what it is not. It is not being punitive and criticizing someone and putting them down for not doing what they said they were going to do. That's the best way to deflate and ruin that energy. It needs to be positive reinforcement and support for it to work. Or one of you will get resentful of the other and not want to partner because they're just not helping you. They're making you feel bad. Right? And that's why as coaches, we're not here to beat on you. We're here to encourage you, but you got to go out and do it. We want to be motivating, but you got to go out and do it. So that's why it says here, just do it. Take those steps that you're putting off that you know you need to do. Just do it. And if that means for some of you, remember, we're going for 3 hours a day of Legion. Is anybody there yet? Someday? Okay. Hey, that's good. David, did I see your finger go up?
Some days.
Some days, okay. No,
Consistency is hard, even if it's time blocking, it's the balance that, like, I got stuck in a conversation, and I was like, that was more important at the time.
yes,
Than putting a name to it, and then they're over there.
if you have quality conversation, please, although it is a numbers game, but the numbers mean nothing if there's not some quality to it, to the connection. So there'll be times where you're like, oh, I was gonna call 20 people and I've been on a phone call for 15, 20 minutes. It was probably worth it. So I don't want you to just, because when you just churn, then you become transactional. If you become transactional in our business, you're probably never gonna build a referral business because you're just going to the next deal. It's not about the people, it's about the next deal. And that doesn't really, we have agents out there that are purely transactional. And I'll tell you what their life is like. They always have to chase strangers to grow their business, and they never have repeat business or referral business or very little because they don't take care of their clients so well that they would do that because they're just on to the next deal. And I've seen, believe me, we had an agent here. She's a lovely woman. She was great on the phone. I mean, she could convert FSBOs like nobody's business. But as a broker, she wasn't at our office very long. She'd been in the business a long time. She was like one of the top agents when I first got in the business in Kansas City. And she was at our office for like maybe less than a year. And, but then as a broker, I'd get complaints from her clients saying, she never calls me back. I can't reach her. I don't know what's going on with my transaction. And I said to her, I said, you've done hundreds of deals in your career. You should have an amazing database. And even she recognized, she goes, but I didn't always treat them well. And you know, that woman lost her house. She also wasn't good with her money. She lost her house, owed the IRS $80,000, and had to borrow somebody's car because she had to give up her leased car because she did it. Every time she got a commission check, she bought expensive designer clothes or went on a Virgin Island truck. And then she didn't treat people well, so she had to keep chasing strangers. Ask yourself if that's the kind of business you want. And that's why, David, it's okay to have a conversation that lasts longer. It's okay. Yes, you're gonna have to work hard to get, because we know it's a numbers game to get the return, but there's times we have to slow down to speed up. So making those 3 calls a year when you're talking to your people. I like quarterly calls. And remember, you're not going to call everybody in your database. If it's a big database, you're going to call your A's, your A's pluses more than quarterly. And then your B's, yes, definitely quarterly, but your C's, and maybe once a year, or you might be like me and none at all because you do such a good job with the A's and B's. Does it make sense, Angel?
Well, I learned last night from Megan that she breaks it up to the alphabet. She called it.
The DTD2.
Yeah, that's it.
The DTD2 is based on a KW course called Never Ending Referrals. And so the DTD2 and DTD2, it's do the 2 daily. So it is picking, and I think I've shared this before, but it's picking 2 letters of the alphabet for the last names. And don't be like me, who I would start my database calling, like, I gotta call my database, I'd start with the A's. I might get to the G's and the H's. I get busy or sidetracked, I stop. And a month or so, or maybe 2 months later, I gotta call my database, start at the A's. So the DTD2 is like taking 2 letters of the alphabet so that you work the whole database. And it also should keep you from cherry picking. Guys, if there's somebody in your database you don't want to call or talk to, then why are they in your database? Ask yourself. Versus you're just a hesitant caller. Believe it or not, I grew up hating making phone calls. Hated it. It's my house. It was usually a bill collector when I was growing up. So we didn't answer the phone. So in my brain, it was like phone calls are not good, not good, not good, not good, right? So I had to overcome that. It was very hard for me, very hard. And I can't tell you I love calling, but I've got to have 6 phone appointments a week with recruits, 6. So I got to talk to people on the phone. But I built muscle. It didn't happen on day 1. Didn't happen on day 5. It happened from practicing.
How do you, like, there's people in North Carolina that I'm like, well, I don't know if I wanna call, but it's just because I haven't talked to them in a while. And so then when I do talk to them, I just wanna catch up. But how do I incorporate real estate into that?
You don't have to.
Okay, because I've just been, this week I've been calling, but I haven't tried to incorporate it because it's just calling them as my goal this week.
I give you full permission to just call someone and care about them and catch up with them and reestablish that relationship. Now, a lot of times they're going to ask, what are you doing? What's going on with you?
Well, I think that's it.
And don't just if you show interest in them, most people will then say, hey, well, what's been going on with you? And if they don't worry about it. You can follow up with a handwritten note or a text message saying, it was so great to connect with you. I forgot to mention I've done something crazy. I got my real estate license. And crazier than that, I can help you even in North Carolina. Okay? So please, I give you full permission, because if you breathe heavy real estate on them and you haven't talked to them in 10 years or 5 years, they're going to see you as just transactional and you're just hustling them, right? And no, that doesn't ever feel good. But many times it will come up organically of, hey, Serenity, what are you guys up to?
Like most people don't know I got married in the Kansas City.
So that's a perfect reason to call them.
And I just was like, peace in 2 weeks. So.
She's out. They're like, where's Serenity?
Well, because I used to, well, like, Gracie, I used to go by Gracie, and then because I married, it was Baxter, so it gets real confusing when I call them, I'm Serenity, no, I'm Gracie, and so just like.
Oh, okay.
That gets a little, because they don't know I'm married, and they don't know when I turned 18, I was like, I want to be Serenity instead of Gracie.
Okay.
That sounds confusing.
No, it doesn't. Many of us have kid names.
Yes.
I know how somebody knows me by what they call me, or how long they've known me by what they call me.
Yeah.
I know if the connection was in high school, I know if it was childhood, I know if it was adult, by what they call me. So it's okay. Just connect with people and reestablish. Don't, yeah, don't, it is okay. Okay, So what we want is be a giver. Because that's where some of you are gonna feel really awkward and say, well, I don't wanna be salesy, I don't wanna be that salesperson, I don't wanna be that icky person. I don't want people avoiding my call because they think I'm gonna force them to buy or sell their house. We can't. We can only tell them why now might be a good time for them. But we have a saying in Keller Williams, and it's this: come from contribution. When you give to people and show value because you have information that they don't have access to or know about, because we're the real estate experts, then we're giving. We're not trying to take. So you give, you follow up, give more, follow up, receive, give back. So what do you think that giving looks like? What could be some examples of giving? Because we always want to give value, come from contribution.
I did a car ride, and we had a call in event. So, we gave them an opportunity to win $400.
See?
Just, and then we got them to enter and they gave us contact info.
So to enter that contest, did they have to fill out a form?
Yeah.
To enter, yeah, like a Google form, and they just do that?
Yeah.
You guys can do the same thing and just do a tiny little giveaway, $25. Something tiny. People will sign up for free stuff all day long. Big or small. Don't think you have to have big stuff. You don't. Matter of fact, one of my growth coaches, Lisa, every month gives away a $25 gift card to someplace. They do a focus. It could be a small business that they partner with or what have you. And she gets their contact information and gets them to interact with her. And she gets about 60 people consistently each month. Because people like free stuff. They do. So that can be a great way to start building your database. And then you get to follow up and say, hey, thanks for entering my giveaway. Now, just make it little stuff. It can be a cheap, hey, Chiefs. Look at it. Over at Hen House, they have tumblers, they have drinking glasses and other things that are really inexpensive. You could have 2 sets of mugs with Chief stuff on it. Hey, get ready for the Chiefs games. Here's your little tailgate package. And I think it would cost you $20. Right?
So can we invite people to like, casino night, that kind of stuff?
Yeah. Now, you have to decide, yes, if you're gonna pay for their ticket or have them pay. But yeah, definitely, you get to pick. How many did she say, like up to 10 people you can
I didn't know.
invite? I think that's what Rebecca said, was you can invite 10 clients or people in your database. That, and some agents are buying the tickets for their, and then some are just inviting. Do you all understand what casino night is about?
No.
Okay, thank you. It's okay not to know or feel comfortable. Casino night is a fundraiser for our office. We have a compassion fund. Because you guys are self-employed and sometimes things happen. And you might need a little help. And so our compassion fund is to help our agents in times of need. Sometimes a closing's gotten delayed for an agent and they needed to make a car payment before, and the closing got delayed and it's not gonna close for the next week. We can help a little. Those are smaller, usually 500 or less, for when things go wrong, or a medical need or something like that, okay? So we raise money, thousands of dollars, to be able to help our agents here in this office with our compassion fund. And then there is a bigger fund, a regional fund called Heartland Partners in Caring. Linda Woodward is our representative for that. And they will, you can apply for, they do bigger grants. And then there is KW Cares, which is the big daddy, and that's for big needs. And we've had agents here apply to that and have to use that.
She offered like testimonials, but even if it's not people's names, you know, sometimes it's a little private, but.
Yeah, that's
the office.
Well, I'll just tell you a story because I know Laura is a big fan, but, Laura and Jim Meininger, tapped into all of those funds because my cat, Jim had a brain tumor. The myopathy, the kind you don't ever, you can't cure. Thank you. I did, but he had 3 brain surgeries to just get the tumors down so that he could live a little longer, and he outlived his life expectancy. And they had insurance, but can you imagine 3 brain surgeries and a lot of time in the hospital and how much it cost? And Laura would share with you that the money that she was able to get from all 3 of those funds allowed them to stay in their home because she had to stop working. They were both agents. Jim was a giant, gentle giant. This big guy and big booming voice, but the kindest, sweetest man. And Laura's this tiny thing. So her trying to take care of this giant man, but those funds help them stay in their house. So that's what Casino Night is about. It's a really important event for us because you guys never know when something can happen and that you might need a little help. And that's why we're here. So being a giver is about you giving. So it can, if you look on page 31, there's a whole list of different ideas. Facts about expired listings. The difference between renting versus owning. Are you paying somebody else's house payment? Are you creating equity and wealth for someone else? Security tips, how to keep your house secure. Or security tips for FSBOs and how it's, you don't know who's coming to see your house. I don't believe in scaring FSBOs though. I think that's, but you could say, you know, you always want to make sure they're a pre-approved buyer and that type of thing. 6 selling myths uncovered, the 10 commandments when applying for a real estate loan. Like, don't buy stuff when you're under contract. Don't open a new credit card. Do not bounce a check. Because when a buyer, the lender does a credit check at application, and then they do another credit check right before closing to make sure you didn't do anything stupid and crazy and mess up your credit. And people do. And guess what? They usually don't get a loan. So these are things of value, items of value that you can give. So make a plan, give value, and then the third is get personal. Get personal. Telephones, pop-bys. Sending emails, direct mail marketing, even handwritten notes are often not enough to get to people. So to me, that is just complements your personal touch. But remember, as David pointed out, how do you balance that? So you can't be touching everybody all the time. You've got to select the different groups in your database on how much time you're going to spend with them. When are you going to be contacting them? And then who's not going to get a personal touch as much? And be okay with that. Because some of you are going to be like, well, but I got to talk to everybody. No, I'll tell you, as you grow your database, it's just not possible. It's not. So let's just be realistic and know that We've got to, but what I love, your mailings and your emails and all of that, it gives you and should give you a reason to follow up. So if you send any of these items or share either email or text or snail mail, any of these items of value, it gives you a perfect reason to say, hey, did you get that? What did you think? Isn't that crazy that the average homeowner in the United States last year had, does anybody know how many dollars in equity they gained on average?
Like per year.
Last year?
3,500.
28,000. You guys should know that. You should know that. Because it opens conversations. You know where I got that information? Has anybody gone to Keeping Current Matters? It's a marketing company. You don't have to buy anything from them. They have a blog. Go to their blog and they've got great articles, short little articles and great stats. That's where I got that.
That sounds like a good conversation starter too. Something I'm grateful with.
And would you like to know maybe how much equity possibly you have in your home? How much values have increased in your neighborhood in the past year? Kyle Talbot, one of the reasons he's so good on social media, on Instagram, he's over 60,000 now followers. He bumped after MegaCamp, he bumped 15 to 20,000 additional people because of the impact he got from MegaCamp. He does headlines. That's a headline, 28,000 average. That gets people's attention. What? In 1 year? Crazy. So that gives you a reason to follow up, because then you're worried, well, what do I say to him? You just say, hey, did you get that? Did you see that information? Were you as shocked as I was with those numbers? You make it conversational so you can get that conversation going. So then, would somebody on page 33 read what we talk about on page 33 about having a Midas touch? Would somebody read where it says Steve Chater? Who wants to read that out loud? Oh, my volunteers are just jumping. Hello?
The whole section.
Yeah, that whole paragraph right there.
I got you.
Okay, Laura's gonna do it. Yay. Thank you, Laura.
Chater of the Steve Chater team wants the network to know he cares and has their best interests at heart. Every time he does a comparative market analysis, he calls his network in that area and with a simple script, lets them know he has done research on their name. He simply said, I've been doing some research on the market in your neighborhood and the values of the houses once again. Prove you made a great investment. It's an easy message to leave on the machine and it creates a good opportunity for a conversation on investment.
Yeah, another practice you guys should be doing with all your homeowners in your database or any of your leads that own a home, you should be doing a quarterly CMA to them. Just not just a one pager. This is what's happened in your neighborhood in the last 6 months or last year. It's how many houses sold. This was the average sales price. This is how many days on market. Would you like to know where your house fits in these numbers? Or could?
Do you do like a generic one, or say you know like.
A neighborhood.
A neighborhood, okay.
But if it's to my database, you guys should do 5 of those a week because your people live in different areas. And one, it's gonna help you practice CMAs to build that muscle to get really good at it. And you're giving something of value. Because here's what I would highly recommend as one of your 36 touches. Quarterly, you send them what's been going in their neighborhood. Because, does anybody have a retirement fund?
Yeah.
Okay, do you get a quarterly statement?
Oh, I don't know, I get too excited about retirement.
Okay, well,
Possibly, I don't know.
you do.
Oh, okay.
You do.
I do, yeah.
Yeah, you do. You do. So you're a wealth advisor too. Did you know that? You're advising people and helping them either purchase or sell one of their largest assets. And shouldn't it be your job to let them know how that investment is doing? Do you think people appreciate that? Or do you think they'll be in the way? They'll appreciate it. Because that's information we have that they don't. That's what brings value to us, because we can provide something they can't easily access. So if you get in the habit of doing 5 CMAs a week, then you can roll right through and do that quarter.
So you don't ask them, hey, would you like me to send it? You just do it and then send it to the email and they go.
Yeah, or mail it to them.
Yeah.
Ask them. In our world of promoting our businesses, we can't ask, would they like that? We have to say to them, one of the things that I do as an agent is I want the people I know or my clients to know what's happening with the value of their home. And so you're gonna hear from me quarterly. They can tell you to stop if they don't want that, but it is rare that they don't want that information. Can you see the value of that? Can you see how you can follow up with a phone call and say, because if they had a big jump, I look at what happened last year, and then call them and say, oh my gosh, what'd you think about that average sales price? And if you sold them that house, you can say, and you bought it at this price. You've got some nice equity in your home. You can look it up on MLS too, even if you didn't sell them that house.
So just look.
Yeah. Yeah, you won't be able to see sold in other areas. Make sense? That's that Midas touch of giving something of value and then having a reason to talk to them. Does that get you? I mean, when you're thinking, I don't know what to do, I'm a real estate agent, I don't know what to do today. I hope I'm giving you some ideas of what to be doing. And things that allow you to have conversations. I want you always thinking is these things of value that I'm going to offer, the information or whatever it is, will it start a conversation or could it start a conversation? Would this make them curious? That's what I'm looking for. I want to make them curious. Number 5, be consistent. Oh, I've never said that before. You're supposed to laugh. Person says it all the time. Be consistent. If you can't be consistent, like if you're gonna do FSBOs and expires and you can't be consistent, don't do it. If you're gonna say, I wanna do farming and you can't be consistent at it, don't do it. Because I know what I'm gonna hear from you. It doesn't work. And I'm gonna say, of course it didn't work. You weren't consistent and you didn't stay with it long enough. This is not a 30-day test on most of these activities. And you also have to give yourself grace that you're new and you're not as well scripted to handle all the questions and objectives. So some of the activities that work really well for other agents as far as converting like open house leads and you're struggling at it, then usually that is a scripting or conversation issue. But the good news is you can get better at it. So don't give up on the open house and don't come to me and say it doesn't work. If you haven't been trying to get better and understand, okay, I'm not converting and why is that I'm not able to get to that next step with them? When you're doing lead gen, you all are going to have to kind of analyze your results. Not kind of, you do. If you're not getting results for an activity, you have to say, is it an activity like farming that just takes time? And farming, you have to commit to a year or don't do it. Don't do it. Well, it's a waste. You may get lucky, You may, and I hope you do, but if you can't be consistent with your plan, then don't do it. Yeah, you'll go hungry. So you gotta do it. And that's why we talk about setting aside those 3 hours every day, every work day to build this business. And remember, it doesn't mean being at the phone for 3 hours. It can be door knocking for an open house or a buyer need. It can be networking, all of those things. So please think, I want you thinking lead generation and prospecting broad and big enough so that you're not keeping it too narrow. Keep it simple, salesperson, not stupid. They need to be touched, not bedazzled. If you overthink and think, oh, this isn't perfect, then you're not gonna do it. And all we really want you to do is just go out there and do it. And it's not gonna be perfect, especially in the beginning, and that's okay. But with time, you get better. Is anybody a sports person? Yeah, David. Okay. Oh, I'll make him, I'll call him when he comes back. Anybody else sports?
Right.
Okay, so were you good at tennis the first day you played?
No.
No, you might have had some natural ability that some things came easier to you, but did you have to play and practice? Yeah. Jake, what's your sport?
Bowling.
Bowling, okay. I'm so bad at bowling. Yes, it is. It is. They have like magic and they know like how the hand and where the thumb go, and I'm like, I'm lucky if it doesn't go in the gutter. But I have fun.
Yeah.
To me, it's just fun because I'm so bad. I remember one time the ball went the wrong way when I was, oh, so that's how bad I am. But Jake, were you good on day one?
No.
How long you been playing?
Consistently since 2015.
Okay,
First probably picked it up in like 2008.
okay.
Like,
What's your score, average score?
210.
I've never been there in my life. I'm lucky if I go to 100. I would amuse you. How about Zoomers? Any sports that you all or any other things that you had to work at to get better?
When I was younger, I used to play a lot of basketball and I
Oh,
had to shoot a lot
I
of
can't
free
hear
throws.
somebody. Where
Oh.
are we? How come I can't hear?
Can you
I
hear me
could hear
now?
you guys earlier. Oh. Oh, Connor, I can't hear you.
How about now?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
Now I can.
Yeah, I was just saying when I was younger, I played a lot of basketball.
Okay.
And I had to work on my free throws and shooting a lot. That didn't come naturally.
Yeah, you had to work on your free throws. Yeah. So Thomas, you're a singer. And do you sing each new song perfectly the first time you sing it?
Oh, no, you gotta work.
And how many songs do you have in your repertoire?
3.
300 songs this man knows. Do you think he learned them in a day?
He was like a real good singer. I can sing.
He's amazing. Yeah, well, he's modest. I'll say he's amazing. Now I'll put David on the spot. So David, in sports, are your players good on day one when they join the team?
Terrible.
They're terrible. They're terrible, he says. They're terrible.
Even also, they work.
They get rusty. They need to practice.
Yeah.
Can they win a ball game without having a plan and without practicing?
Sure, I mean, you can.
But how likely? Not very.
No. The
Yeah.
the better you get, the more the better.
Ooh, I love that. The better you get, the smaller the margin of error is. That's for all of you. You gotta build your real estate muscles. Are you doing the activities to build those muscles?
I look at it like, I wanna do local, right? Like, who doesn't want those $1 million homes?
Yeah.
They're beautiful homes, but I imagine, so my cousin's a real estate agent in Colorado, she does that. But what would I do with them? I wouldn't know, like, the counter finishes, I wouldn't be able to even have a conversation. And so, as much as I want that, I'm not ready for that. Like, I can't play in that arena.
But you can get there.
Yeah, I gotta learn.
It's about gaining the knowledge. And with the knowledge will come the confidence. Because really, it's not that different than selling a $200,000 house. It's just a little bit different conversations, right? But the process is the same, the paperwork's the same, right? So it's just learning how to have those conversations and know what kind of features and everything that come with a house like that. So we're gonna be consistent. And then I love this with Bruce Hardy. Bruce Hardy on page 34. He bought a car in 1994. From that day forward, kept in touch with the car salesman by mailing him something on a regular basis. In 2004, 10 years later, the salesman called Bruce and sold the car salesman a house for $350,000. But here's the interesting thing. Over those 10 years, Bruce purchased 4 cars, but not from that salesman. Because the salesman didn't stay in touch with him. But Bruce did. Who won? Yeah. Usually in our business, the last agent standing, meaning the most consistent, wins. You win in FSBOs, you win in expired, you win with your leads. If you're the most consistent, persistent, politely, agent that they interact with. If that's all it takes, doesn't that sound kind of easy? Am I wrong? Does that sound easy? Yes. You're not buying it.
I want to say you're wrong, you're right.
She wants to put an objection out there.
I think it's hard when you haven't experienced that. You know, like I feel like I've been farming and I've been calling. Like I feel like I'm in this bubble where it's like I'm doing the work. And everyone telling me it's like, it's gonna be awesome. Like how, you know what I mean? So it's good to hear, it's good to hear. It's hard.
You're at that point. Laura was sharing, she's been doing the farming, she's been doing this and nothing's happened yet. You're a perfect example, Laura, of you're gonna get to the point where the majority of agents will get to this level where you are right now and go, this doesn't work, and they stop.
What am I doing? I'm wasting my time.
They stop. I will tell you, the majority of agents will stop. There's the national sales statistics. And these are for any types of sales, just not just real estate. The majority of sales happen after 8 to 10 interactions or connections. Most salespeople stop at how many? 2. They give up too soon. And a lot of times it's because you get in your head, well, they're not ready yet. They don't want to work with me. They're not getting back to me. Oh, they hate me. Oh. And you're making decisions for them when they could have just been busy or their time wasn't now. I've shared with you guys, I talked to recruits. Yesterday, I got a phone call. I could see it. I was in a meeting and her face came up on my phone. It's a recruit I've been working with for over 1.5 years. And she said, okay, I've got to do this. She started the licensing process and didn't finish it. And she renewed in her materials, and she goes, I didn't get through it. And I can't keep putting this off. And she goes, and you keep staying in touch with me. And every time I get an email from you, I'm like, I gotta do this. I gotta do this. And I said, you can do this. I said, what's so impressive to me is you haven't given up on this dream. And then I was able to share with her that in July, 2 of our new agents, both of them are your clients. One of them I was talking to for 3 years before she got licensed, and the other for 2 years before she got licensed. And if I had given up on those people and just stopped communicating with them, and guess what, guys? All I was doing was sending an email and occasionally a text message. I wasn't hot and heavy on them. But I know something, and it's the same for you. It's all about timing. Not everybody you know is ready to buy or sell a house. And if we have a conversation and they say no at that time, and we go, move on, and we don't stay consistent with them. Do you know how encouraging it was for her for me to share that story? She goes, you're not kidding. I said, no, that's honest. They 3 years, she goes, that's so encouraging for me to know that I'm not alone. I said, life gets in the way. It's okay, it's all about timing. It's the same with buying and selling houses. If we give up on people because they're just not now, then you're gonna have a hard time. You're gonna have a hard time. Because you can't have that expectation. Everybody has potential. Everyone you meet is an opportunity. Angel.
I also want to share that if your marketing, prospecting, farming, you're sending a flyer, if something's not working, revisit it, because learn from it, learn from what you did wrong, revise it, change it. We have so much technology that you can update stuff and change it around, and maybe by changing one word or one idea or one art graphic will get that attention. Just revamp it and send it out again. That is, it's worked for me. So
That's a perfect part. So what Angel was sharing is if something you're sending out is not getting a response, then maybe you need to rework it. You need to look at it. I do that all the time on recruiting. I do Facebook recruiting ads. I look at what gets traction. I'm like, ooh, that didn't work. I tweak it. I change the graphic. I tweak it. I change the graphic. I do something different. I go, so I'm always tweaking that to see what's going to get the response. And at different times in the market, people will be having different thoughts about buying or selling a home. So your information always has to speak to the market right now. Has to. Okay, know your costs. So, okay, so you're going to do some marketing or mailing, know what you can afford. If you're going to farm, you have to, okay, I'll give a little bit away from what. You have to have at least 200 houses in a farm to make it worth your while for the turnover rate. Or otherwise you're spending time, effort, and money. But if you get up to 500 houses or more in your farming, can you walk those every month? You'd be in great shape. Your calves would be like, whoo.
by the end, you're gonna be.
Something you guys don't probably know about me is in my former life, I ran for political office while in law school. I'm not very bright. I do hard things. I knocked on over 4,000 doors in like a 3-month period. So when I got into real estate, knocking on doors was easy peasy. What do you think my first day was like? I did a lot of prep. I mean, I interviewed and I talked to other candidates and I had my plan and I knew how much marketing I was doing. I knew how much money I needed to raise. And I get to the first door. What do you think the thoughts in my head are? I hope they don't answer. And it's true. I was like, don't be home, don't be home, don't be home, don't be home. And all of that prep, and I didn't prep a script to say when I knocked on doors. And that first week, I'd just say, hi, I'm running for office. Here's my info. I didn't ask for their vote. And I'm like, I don't even know if they would vote for me or not. I gotta ask that. So I had to get better at that. But that first week also, I had 5 blisters on my feet because I wore cute shoes the first week. I almost crippled myself. I can tell you how many doors I can do in an hour. Usually I can do about 30 doors in an hour. I can do, depending on how close the houses are together, I can do maybe a little more or a little less.
What's the answer?
Most people are not home. So you know what I did? When I think back, I'm like, oh my God, this set me up so well for real estate. So I had a voter list. I had my clipboard. I had my materials. And if they weren't home, I made a note. But if they had beautiful flowers in their front yard, I'd make a note. If they had a dog and I met the dog and its name was Sandy or whatever, I made a note. And then when I got home that night, every night, while I was in law school, that's why this is my last year, my 3rd year. I had pre-printed postcards, oversized postcards that said, it was so nice to meet you, or I'm sorry I missed you. And then I do a handwritten note on the bottom of that. So your dog is the cutest dog, or you've got the most beautiful flowers and your landscaping is gorgeous. And people would call me. So I'm sorry I missed you when you came by. And then they were in my database. And then I followed up because they got mailings from me. And then I went back and knocked some of those neighborhoods again. I didn't just knock once. So luckily for me, I had built muscle by the time I got into real estate that I wasn't worried about knocking on doors, but believe me, it was so hard that first week. It was painfully hard. And I didn't like it, but I had to learn how to like it. And I was up a clock, November, election day is election day, no matter what. So just know that you've got to know, and then I had to know how much I could spend on any of those things. So you need to know how much you're going to spend, and don't just throw money. Don't throw money. So I want you, we'll have homework here in a minute. But I want you thinking about the cost and how much you can spend, because some of you are not going to have the extra money. But I do want, the thing I really want is on page 36. Once you figure out the cost that you're going to have, what the average cost of a home in your market is, what your average commission, so figure out how much do you charge as an agent to sell a house or to help someone buy a house. And then 33 touches times, they say 50 cents. I would say at least $1 or $1.50 if you're going to do any mailings. And maybe you're not doing 33 mailings. But I want you figuring out what that budget could look like. And then I want you to figure out, if you don't do the networking, what will it cost you? How much money are you leaving on the table? How much money are you leaving on the table? Okay. Okay. We talked about the allied resources. If you read the materials, which you should be, you'll know what they're suggesting to do with these different network categories, your allied resources. They have a whole portion for the allied resources, the core advocates. The advocates go through these materials and decide how are you going to communicate with them. And they've got that all in here. Because you're not, one size doesn't fit all. And you may have to communicate differently, like to your advocates. Yeah, to any of your Mets, don't entrust their loyalties to their memory. Because I'm gonna hear from some of you say, oh, they went with somebody else, and you're gonna be mad. But I want you then to ask yourself, was it because of me not being consistent, and me just hoping they didn't think of me when the time was right? Or did I make certain I came from contribution, showed value consistently to stay top of mind? Because usually it does. Hate to say it, but usually it's us, because we don't have a plan, we don't have a system, we're not consistent. So, okay. And the same with it's about educating. That's why teachers make such good agents. They do. Because we're educating people about what we do, how we do it. And then once they do business or say they want to hire us, then we're educating them on the process. Right? Okay, I'm going to skip down. So make sure you're reading all of those sections there. It's Networking works. It's one of the easiest and most pleasurable ways to do business with people you have a connection with. And you have to do it through consistent touches. So the 8x8 and the 36 touch. And know that not doing it means you're probably not putting food on the table. And for some of you, that's a big deal. So you've got homework. Let me get you the homework. Come on. Here's your homework. On page 39 and 40, who are your allied resources? Make a list. Page 39 and 40. And then I want you to come up with a list of your advocates. Who are your biggest cheerleaders? Who are those people that when you told them you're getting your real estate license, they said you're going to be great? Those are your cheerleaders. And sometimes they will surprise you, as I said on Tuesday. Sometimes they'll be people you don't expect are really in your corner because they haven't been overly obvious about it, but they're so supportive of you. Okay? Any questions? How are you Zoomers doing? Did you get good content today? Give me an aha. I want an aha here in person, and I want an aha on Zoom. And I'll start here in person. What's the takeaway from today?
Small bites.
Small bites. It's important, small bites. Okay, Zoom, give me an aha.
I need to convert all my handwritten notes on contacts and get that database built back up.
Good. I love that. Good insight. Good insight. Okay. Thanks, you guys. If you want to stay for red class, it's about commercial lending. And here's why you might want to, some of you are like, what, commercial? You don't know when you might have a client that you're helping buy or sell a home, say to you, they might be a small business owner, say, Jeff, I need to lease a space. Can you help me? So Jill Hayes is the commercial coach. You can hire her on an as-needed basis. So if that happens, I'd partner you with Jill for that transaction, but it'd be nice to have a little basic information and knowledge so you don't feel like you don't know me. Okay. Good job, you guys. Do your homework, and next week, Angel's gonna be talking to you about farming. Okay? Bring your hoe, bring your tractor, bring your gardening tool. Yeah. Thanks, you guys. I appreciate you. Thank you, everybody, joining us online. Bye.